Alright, today I'm going to be continuing to rank my favorite altcoins that I personally own, dissecting them down by the narrative that they're in, sorted by the respective market caps, and then finally breaking down fundamental categories, giving them a star ranking, 1 out of 5 stars, 4 out of 5 stars, for some categories that I think are very important when we are talking fundamentals of any cryptocurrency. And this is kind of the second part to this altcoin gems series. If you haven't seen it, a couple days ago I did upload the best layer 1 altcoin gems. So if you're into that layer 1 narrative, make sure to go check out that video as well. And before we jump into these coins, I gotta preface that I am not an altcoin expert. This is just to give you guys some ideas. And if you are interested in anything I talk about here, make sure to go do your own research and decide for yourself if you want to invest. So without further ado, the narratives we're going to be talking about today are layer 2s, specifically Ethereum layer 2s, and gaming. I think these narratives will do very well this bull cycle because, first of all, not only do layer 2s fix the scalability problem of Ethereum, but there's also probably going to be that BlackRock Ethereum ETF. And then when it comes to gaming, I know gaming hasn't performed quite as well this cycle, but if you're just looking at 2020, the last bull, it did take some time for those gaming projects to finally pop off, right? It was kind of like the last narrative to run, and I think it could be very similar this cycle as well. So I think with this nice pullback we've been having recently in crypto, both of these narratives wouldn't be bad to pick up right now, and that's why I'm going ahead and giving you guys some gems within each respective narrative. And let's go ahead, let's get into this, starting with the layer 2s, and I'm not going to waste your guys' time ranking coins that I don't own. There's only one Ethereum layer 2 that I'm personally invested in, and that is Metis DAO. And while yes, there are other good L2 projects like Arbitrum and Optimism, I personally always go with lower market cap altcoins that have just as good, if not better, fundamentals. And I think while yes, those are safe plays, they're not bad to buy, you're really looking at like a max, 10x out of those. Whereas something like Metis, even though it's not a micro cap, right? This isn't really a risky play. It's not like a degen low cap play. It's a nice mid cap sitting around $350 million market cap. It has run up quite a bit, but it has gotten a very nice pullback down over 50% of the highs from this year. I think Metis is much more likely, even probably going to pull a 10x, if not 20, maybe even like 30x this cycle. I do think it deserves to be right up there with ARB and OP when it comes to cryptos ranked by market cap. Starting off with the tokenomics, supply distribution, pre-allocations, inflation, that sort of thing. And just looking here on CMC, you can see the circulating supply is almost 6 million, whereas the total supply is about 10 million. That is very average when it comes to cryptocurrencies, right? Not too bad dilution going on there, but nothing perfect, right? Just pretty average. But what's nice is that since this coin was released in 2021, it's had some time for the dilution to really run its course, and we are now on the latter side of that inflation curve. So every day, it dilutes less and less. It certainly does not have an inflation problem right now. So when it comes to that side of things, not too bad. What about like pre-allocations, right, where a lot of VCs involved? And while, yes, they were, again, since it ICO'd in 2021, most of your VCs, right, venture capitalists, have already sold off. All of your large holders now have just accumulated in the bear market. So when it comes to that, it is very good. So overall, going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars when it does come to tokenomics. Nextly, we're going to be jumping into the utility of this project, and I think this is where Metis really does shine. It implements ZK rollups. It's extremely low when it comes to gas fees. It's extremely fast. If you go to their website, they have a lot of incubator programs to get other projects building on top of Metis as well. So yeah, they do have a lot of chains built on top of them, right? They have their own swap. They have like their own meme coins within the ecosystem. A lot of people are using Metis for their own projects because it is such a good layer 2. So the utility is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and give it a full 5 out of 5 stars when it comes to utility. Next up is going to be novelty. How different is this project from other chains, right? What makes it stand out? And like I said, it has that ZKM rollups going for it. I don't know of any other projects that are implementing the rollups in the way that they are, right? There are a lot of other ZKM chains out there doing very similar things in the layer 2 narrative, but Metis just tweaks it, does it a little bit different, a little bit better. So I do think they are pretty novel, but they did fork from Optimism. It's not, a completely unique chain. There are a lot of layer 2s that do similar things as Metis. It's not extremely revolutionary or anything like that, but it is enough to definitely stand out from the crowd. And that's why I'm going to go ahead, give it a solid 3 out of 5 stars when it does come to the novelty of the chain. Next up is community, and this is another area where Metis does really good. It has a very healthy community. There is a lot of people that hold Metis in high regard. There's a lot of dedicated holders that are not selling till multiple billions, right? I do think their community is extremely solid, and that's why I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5 stars when it does come to the community. Nextly, we're going to get into their team, right? Are they a docs team? How much development is going on? Are they expanding their team? That sort of thing. And this is another category where Metis really excels. They have some of the most development activity out of any chain in crypto. They're getting a 5 out of 5 stars when it comes to their team. They are doing some great work over there. So yeah, that's Metis. That's the only layer 2 I'm going to go over in this video. The only reason I didn't list, other ones like Arbitrum and OP is because I'd probably just be saying the same thing about them. But Metis has a 10th of the market cap, and that's why I think it's just a better buy. But let's go ahead. Let's get out of layer 2s, and let's jump into gaming. What is the first gaming project that I'm going to go over here? And that is going to be Myria. Myria, sitting at $126 million market cap. This is another coin that has performed very well, up about 10x from the lows of the bear market. And rightfully so. I think they are the best contender for like the next Gala Games of this bull run, if you will. But let's go ahead. Let's get into these rankings. First off, starting with the tokenomics of Myria. You can see here the circulating supply is 18 billion compared to a 50 billion total supply. It's not the worst in the world, but definitely not great. And if you do look at the pre-allocations, right, did this coin have an ICO? It did, and those are still getting unlocked since it did launch in 2023. So you could say it will have like a VC problem, right? There are going to be venture capitalists kind of dumping, but it's not anything too terrible at all. Very average for most coins that are out right now. Really don't think it's going to impact price too much. If anything, you might just have venture capitalists that are willing to pump the price because they hold some of the supply. So they're going to pump it into the bull run, forcing retail to buy their bags at the top. But since we're not at the top right now, I could easily see the same gains for this as I was talking about with Metis. That like 10 to 30x I think is very realistic for Myria here. But, tokenomics, I'm going to have to just give it like a 2 out of 5. I think it's just a little bit below average, but, certainly not a deal breaker. Let's go ahead. Let's jump into the utility of this coin. Like I was saying before, they're very similar to like a Gala Games, right? All these gaming coins I'm going to cover in this video are very similar to like a Gala Games ecosystem. But Myria does have the best games in my opinion, right? I think they're more built by gamers that really know what they're doing when it comes to the development side of things. So for gaming coins, while, gaming coins overall, I think most of them are, very low quality and just pay to win. So when it comes from like a gamer's point of view, crypto games are just a complete joke. But we do know from last cycle, while they might be a joke to play, they're certainly not a joke to invest in, and you can make some great gains out of them. So for Myria to have really good games when compared to other crypto projects, I am going to go ahead. I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5 when it comes to the utility of this coin. Next up, novelty. How unique is Myria? And like I said before, all the games here are pretty much trying to be the next Gala Games. They're not very unique. They all do the same thing. They're all just built on another chain like Ethereum, Binance, Solana, that sort of thing. So they're not extremely unique. I'm going to have to give it a 1 out of 5 stars when it comes to novelty. Most of these gaming coins are just not unique at all, but I wouldn't really knock it too hard for that category just because all gaming projects are pretty equal when it comes to the uniqueness, the novelty of them. Next up is the community. I think out of all the gaming projects this cycle, Myria has one of the biggest communities. A lot of influential people do talk about this project. I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5 when it comes to a gaming coin community. And community is what really matters when it comes to a gaming coin because you need people playing your games to make them function properly. Next up is the team. Are they a docs team? Yes, they're a docs team. I think a lot of them really understand what they are building and what they need to do to make a successful Web3 video game. So I'm going to go ahead. The team is going to be another solid 4 out of 5. So yeah, that's Myria. I do think it could be a really good blue chip kind of gaming coin of this cycle. Next up in this narrative, we're going to be jumping into Games for a Living. GFAL is the ticker. Again, they're trying to do something very similar to Gala Games, sitting at $50 million market cap. The 24-hour volume is sitting at about the same as Myria, is about 1 million. So I do think if you were to buy one right now, Myria versus GFAL, personally, I'm going to go with GFAL. They did start off at the same market caps back in 2023. It's just that Myria has kind of outperformed GFAL here. So I do think, GFAL has some catching up to do, and I do think it will catch up because they have the founder of EA backing them. He is one of the heads of GFAL over there. So you have a big name backing them, although that big name is known for making pay-to-win games, and it is no different when it comes to GFAL. They do have one of their games released on Steam right now. If you go look at the reviews, it is mostly negative. Everybody hates their game, which is not surprising because all Web3 video games suck, but that's not what matters. What matters is how much price is going to go up, and I think that name backing them will make price go up. So I do think this is right up there with Miria in becoming the next Gala, right? I think this is a blue chip play for this cycle. I do think it could easily do 10 to 30, even 40, 50x this cycle is definitely possible. So let's go ahead, let's jump into the tokenomics of GFAL. Again, very similar to Miria here, except for it is a little bit worse when comparing the circulating supply to total supply. So it's definitely below average there, but I don't think I can give it a 1 out of 5 stars because it's not really a problem, right? This project can still easily pump with the supply dilution they have right now. It's not something that's going to hinder them too much, so I'm going to let it have a 2 out of 5 stars when it comes to the tokenomics there. When it comes to utility, it's the exact same as Miria. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 when it comes to that. Novelty, how unique is it? Again, only 1 out of 5 stars when it comes to the novelty of the project. Next up is community here, and while the community is very solid, they're not quite up there with Miria, and I think that's just because the price hasn't performed quite as well, so you haven't had as much FOMO into it, right? Some of your retail doesn't know about the coin yet, but they do have a pretty large community. Don't really have anything bad to say about that. I'm going to give it a solid, just 3 out of 5 stars when it comes to the community there. And then when it comes to the team, like I said, the founder of EA is on their team. I think the team is what really makes this project stand out. I'm going to give them a full 5 out of 5 stars when it comes to their team. So yeah, that's GFAL there. I do think this is actually a really good one to be buying right now. This is something I've been accumulating some recently just because the price level does look really good. The chart looks really good. I do think we are set up for a really nice run on GFAL to catch up to Miria. And then to finish off this narrative, we are going to dive into a low market cap gem, a micro cap, only at $2.5 million. This is something that inherently has a lot of risk with that market cap, but with that risk, you certainly have the potential to make 100 to even like 500x on this project is not unrealistic. For example, if it were to just get up to Miria's current market cap, that's a 50x right there, and I think their ecosystem isn't too far behind something like Miria. So let's go ahead, let's jump into these categories. Is it really that much worse than a Miria or GFAL, or does it have a lot of catching up to do? And well, starting off with tokenomics, we can see that the circulating supply is 228 million compared to a 500 million total supply. Really not too bad there, even better than GFAL, and they had their ICO all the way back in 2021, so most of those ICOs have already dumped on the project. Really nothing too bad there, but if you do look at their contract address, you will see about 50% of the supply is within 2 wallets, being 20% staked and used for gaming rewards, 16% being for a liquidity lock and IDO, and then 10% is for the team and marketing. So you do have a large amount of the supply that is not given out to the public, and that's where it could get a little sketchy, and I think that's why it is such low market cap, is because you don't have that big money that really trusts buying this coin yet. But it does have some exchange listings, including BingX, as well as it does have a CertiK audit. So I think it's much more probable that this is not a scam or anything like that. It's just a very undervalued project that not a lot of people know about yet. But yeah, when it comes to utility, same as the others, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, novelty. I'm actually not going to give it a 1 out of 5 stars when it comes to the novelty of this coin, and that's because they have an FPS shooter that you can play right now. I'm not too sure of any other chains where you can go hop on your PC and play a realistic FPS shooter. I will say it's terrible, right? Like I said before, all of these crypto games are terrible. I would never personally play them, but they do have players actively online. You can go ahead, hop in a team deathmatch or free-for-all with other people, and you can go ahead, buy different guns, camos, that sort of thing. There is other stuff to unlock in the project, as well as they are starting to dive into fantasy sports with what they call FanWelt. They also have some other games that are like board games and a boat racer, as well as kind of like a GTA 5 mobile game that they're making. All of this stuff looks really bad, but they have so much diversity in there. It does look really good for a crypto project. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars when it comes to the novelty. They do have some different stuff. Now for the community, right, taking into consideration it's only $2.5 million market cap, they do have a pretty decent community. Really nothing too bad to say there. There are a lot of people that really love this project. They do have a problem on Twitter though, where they have a ton of bots promoting this project. I have heard them in a spaces say they are aware of the problem, and it's not the team actually putting those bots in there, right? It's just some random investor that's trying to boost the algos and has all their tweets botted with replies and that sort of thing. But that's something that's not great to have, and it's kind of hard to judge how big their community is on Twitter based on that. But if you go to their Telegram and that sort of thing, they do have a pretty active community. I'm going to go ahead, give them a 3 out of 5 stars when it comes to that. And now for their team. They do have a docs team, so no problems there. The only problem I think they have with this team is they are not American based. I believe they're out of India, not a Western nation. So, they have a lot of broken English in their tweets and that sort of thing. It's not very professional. I think they really need to hire a native English speaking person to really represent their brand, manage the Twitter and that sort of thing. But again, they are docs, they are developing a lot. And while I do think they are just making games for the sake of making games, right? None of their products are really outstanding. Nothing's really that fun to play. They do have a lot of stuff in the ecosystem. The website's kind of cluttered. It's not the cleanest website, especially when compared to something like GFoul or Myria. It doesn't look the best at like a first glance, but for the market cap, I still think it is extremely undervalued. So, all in all, I'm going to have to just give the team a 2 out of 5 stars. And that is going to wrap up today's video covering some of what I think are very undervalued altcoin gems. That if you do have any questions about anything I talked about today, I do have a Discord links in the description down below, so make sure to go join that. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.